Okay, let's get it. Okay, let's go. Come on now. Now, I want you to have an understanding of between, you know, fairness and justice. It's really, let me give you an example. I mean, you may decide to have me um, work for you, and you may decide to pay me $1 per week, and then you, when the end of the week comes, you actually fulfill that obligation by giving me the dollar. So that's more fairness, right? However, justice is when you pay me according to my value. In other words, if it was a white person working for you, you'll probably pay them $100 for the week. So I want you to have an understanding of the difference really between fairness and justice. Justice means to be right, to be just. In other words, justice is built on the respect and the value of the other individual. And so, for example, in healthcare, you will find that certain people are able to get better treatment just by virtue of who they are. So let's say if the Prime Minister of St. Vincent of Haiti or Jamaica, for example, is ill, you may find that he will get better treatment just by virtue of who he is and his position. However, if a poor person in the countryside have the same illness, they may not even get treatment to begin with. So that's kind of the justice. So, for example, another way you may see this is where, say, a local Church of Christ, in say at Mona Heights, for example, where they may be able to have better chairs to sit in, better accommodation, better sound system, better song books, probably new song books. They may be able to have, a more educated preacher, everything. However, a church that may be in the far out countryside may not be able to afford, chairs. They may not be able to afford, to even buy the communion or to have light. They may have to meet. They probably couldn't meet at night because they couldn't afford the electricity, for example. Now, is that justice? When you have to compare it, though, I want you to compare it with, not with the people, but compare it with who their father is. Who is the father of the children at Mona Heights? And who is the father of the children that I described in the countryside that they couldn't meet at service, at that evening service, because they don't have light, or they don't have chairs to sit in, or they don't have songbooks? Who is the father? Sir, who is the father of those children?
God.
Okay. So then where is the fear? Where is the justice?
That's why I was trying to understand, sir, because I don't know if I really got the explanation well, but it seems to be that fairness and justice goes together in the example that we are taking. Because if one of them is good, the other one is bad, I can say, well, that's not fair.
Fairness, though, may be based upon their location. That is fair for, that is fair given the fact that they cannot afford the light, but that's where, the fairness might be that they're able to have service in the day, and that's fair. However, the folks in Kingston can have service at night as well, because they have all of the, facilities. The point that justice really has to do with the value of the individual. In other words, it would mean that the implication is that the people in Mona Heights are more valuable than the people in the countryside because they have the same father. You know, it's the father who's making the decision. You follow?
Yes, sir. I think I'm getting it.
Because all of the resources belongs to who? The Father.
God.
And all of them are God's children. So if you have some of his children going to bed hungry at night and another set they have leftovers, they feed their dogs, they have so much, they even throw some in the garbage. The question then becomes, if you look at it from who their father is the father a just father? Is he just? Is he a just man? Is he a righteous person?
According to the Bible, he is just.
So then how do you explain the disparity in treatment and wealth? So then the problem may be not the father, the problem may be the way that the children choose to behave.
That would be one of the possibilities.
Well, what do you think the other possibility might be?
It might be in the, different location.
Well,
for example, a church in the USA and a church in Haiti would not be the same at all because of the, political situation of the country or the economical situation.
Well, so the economic situation really has to do with not the father, but has to do with the way the children choose to behave. For example, in 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verses 1 and 2, that contribution that was collected wasn't for the people there. The contribution, if you recall, was to send to where?
To other churches in Macedonia, in Jerusalem.
Who had the need, right?
Yes, sir.
So God the Father ensured that those people who had a crisis was taken care of by those people who had more resources. So they were looking out for each other because they are brothers and sisters. You understand? So
yes,
that if the people in the countryside cannot afford songbooks, but Mona can, wouldn't they ensure that the people there have songbooks or share their songbooks?
They should.
Well, because yes, that's the point that I'm making. So when we talk about justice, justice is to be just, and God the Father is just, and everything that he does is a reflection of who he is. So
yes, sir. I was looking at the big picture,
Yeah.
Like, for example, if we are taking it further, you will notice that some countries have more natural resources than others.
Precisely.
Yes, sir. Which will help them now to be having a high economical, situation.
Right.
Which other won't beneficiate. So now if they are willing to, they can be sharing what they have with others that are in needs. But basically, when they came in the world, they already find everything as such. So that's the sense that I was making of it.
Right. But if you notice Mark's theory, you see that?
Yes,
on the page?
No, you have not shared the screen.
Oh, I thought I did. Oh man, come on now. I thought I did. So there's nothing on the screen now?
No, sir, nothing.
Okay. All right.
I thought you were just trying to introduce before sharing it.
No, I thought you were seeing it. That's why. Okay, can you see now? Can you see it now?
Yes, sir, I do.
Marx. Okay, see that phrase with Marx? See, that's what Marx was trying to do. Marx was saying to the leaders, to the world, that it is unjust. How can you have a man spending all of his waking hours making a pair of shoes when he is walking barefoot? You follow?
Yes,
how can you have a man building winter coat so you can be warm when he doesn't have a winter coat, but he's the one who's making it? So that's what caused communism. Communism was an attempt to take wealth from the rich and share it with the poor. So for example, in Cuba, you have free medicine. Everybody have access to medicine. In America, you don't have money, and you have a broken leg. That's it, tough luck. That's capitalism. Capitalism, the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer. So in Haiti, what you see is a few people living high on the hog, living luxuriously, while a lot of other people are struggling every day just to get a loaf of bread to eat. So they resort to stealing and criminal activities. Young girls may resort to prostitution. And if they can't get it, then they start drugging themselves to then go to sleep and not feel the pain of all that's happening to them. My dentist has been going to Haiti for, I would say, for the past 28 years. But he goes to the countryside taking and doing, dental work for Haitians. His church was sending him. Every year they take a group of people, and they've been doing it for 28 years. So he said a lot of the grown men now used to be children that he fixed their teeth, okay? However, he said he can't go anymore because of the political situation in Haiti. So they can't go because it's too dangerous. That's what he said to me this week. He said, I said, Doc, what happened? He said, I can't go no more because it's too dangerous. They used to, when they came in with all their stuff in the old days, the immigration people knew them. They cleared everything. They didn't have to pay. They were taken care of. Now, the stuff was stolen before they even get there. And sometimes it is so difficult for them to clear custom and do everything. And when they go there, they have to have police to guard them because it is so, the situation is so bad that they discontinue the service. Okay, now that was a church that was providing all of that stuff for 28 years, free dental care. So what I'm saying to you is, yes, it's the behavior of how people choose to behave. And that is where, the Marxist theory is a political theory, a political way to fix things. What you and I have is a spiritual way to fix things. And we have the model in the Bible, like in Acts chapter 2. Remember, it says no one went to bed hungry. They shared everything, common meals with each other, because they were brothers and sisters and they recognized God as their father.
Yes, sir.
So that's that's what communism is about. So when you hear people say communism is bad, all it is just simply an attempt to politically share our resources with each other, politically though. But the wealthy people will hate communism because communism is an attempt to take their wealth and spread it out to everybody. However, from a Christian standpoint, where communism would be considered wrong is because it denied there is a God. Because communism reasoned that it is because of the God that white people behave badly. The rich gets richer. See, the church, for example, in those days, remember the church owned everything in those days, early. And the church was very oppressive because the church behaved badly. Even to this day.
You mean when
So,
they start falling apart from the true doctrine, or what?
yeah, yes, that's what happened.
Okay, sir.
So really, so the Marxists, they felt in order to accomplish their political agenda, they had to deny the existence of God to get people to fight for themselves. Because people were saying, you know, when I get to heaven, God will fix it. You follow? So Marx says, look, Marx says, no. There's no heaven. There's no God. You got to fight for yourself right now. See, so in order for them to accomplish their objective, they had to deny the idea of God, because people were simply suffering and say God will take care of it when we die. And Marx was simply saying, no, you need to get it here. You need to have justice here, not wait until you die. So that's where it went wrong, because they wind up denying God in essence to get people to focus on themselves and to fight for what they want here and now. So that's where it went wrong.
But there is something I'd like to mention, sir, which seems to be, you know, the reality. All of these, for example, socialist or communist countries, like Cuba and Russia, you know, those that are working with the government, or mostly the president, they are really wealthy people.
That is true. That is exactly true.
Yes, sir. Which shows that, you know, they don't really abide in that theory. Or
no, they don't follow it. But remember, though, for those people who live in the Caribbean would know that when I was a young kid, the Cuba used to send free food over for us, free medical care for us. America never did. You follow?
Yes.
So, but Jamaica, I'm not sure if Jamaica is still socialist, but Jamaica once upon a time used to be a socialist country with Michael Manley. You know, when I lived there, they were. You know, there was once upon a time when all the people in the banks were the light-skinned ladies, beautiful ladies. You don't want to see no dark black women in a bank. You follow?
You make it sound like the black are not beautiful too.
No, but that's the way it was. That's the way it was. That because they determined that black was ugly. But when Michael Manley came to power, he changed all of that. That poor people were able to go to the university. And then you see all the banks, the color start changing. You know, heavy set women start working. Before it was those beautiful light-skinned women was in the front as tellers. And so all of the, you know, basically, and so he was able, the bauxite was owned by a foreign country. He took it and nationalized it. So that was a good attempt on his part to ensure that all of his people get an equal shake at the pie. So what happened was all of the wealthy people went to Florida, took all the money, went to Florida, and Cayman. Cayman people were all Jamaicans. The wealthy Jamaicans who went to Cayman fled and took all the money from Jamaica. And now Jamaica have to have a visa to go to Cayman Island. So, you know, the attempt, the problem with it is you can't fix the problems politically. When people behave badly, the solution is not a political solution. It needs to be a spiritual solution. Follow?
A spiritual?
Yes, meaning people need to give their life to Jesus.
Okay.
So once you do that, then things become, but you can't politically fix the soul. You can't put love in people's heart. It's only God can put. So politically, you can enforce laws, but ultimately you can't get a person to love me. Only God can do that. So that's where those political systems are going wrong, because they're going without God. So today you see where America has gone and other countries have gone, where they totally, for example, you're not allowed to even say a prayer in school. It's against the law. A teacher will be fired in the United States. The Bible is not welcome in the school system. So that's a political system though. So the political system tends to crush God in order to have their agenda. So for example, two men can get married legally in the United States. In order to do that, you had to get rid of the Bible. So to use political means in order to fix the human heart is always going to be fruitless. It's not going to work. So Marx had an idea, good idea, except Marx forget that the Bible needs to be the norm to change the hearts and the lives of people. So yes, Marx's emphasis was on money. He believed that if you give people money, somehow they'll be able to fix their lives. And Jesus is simply saying, Jesus's view is different. Jesus's view is, if you give me your life, I'll take care of the money. I'll take care of the food. So in Matthew chapter 6 and verse 33, it says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things shall be added to you. Marx reverses that by saying, get rid of the kingdom and the righteous, God, and fight for these things. Jesus said, no, put your energy in seeking me, and I'll make sure you have food. I'll make sure that your life is okay. So that's the difference in the two theories.
Yes, sir. But, sir, there is something that you just said, like Marx says that if you give people money, at some point they will be able to change their lives.
Yes.
That is not 100% true. And the reason why is because some people, they have bad habits toward money. So you give whatever the amount you give them today during a month, depending on the amount, they will spend it, and not really on something important. Some of them might smoke with it, drink with it. You never know. So
that's why what you're illustrating is the weakness in Marx's theory, the weakness in capitalism, because whether it be socialism, communism, capitalism, if you minus Christ, you're still left with the human heart. And Jeremiah says that the heart of man is deceitfully wicked continuously. So to build a just society is to build on the foundation of Jesus. And once you build on that foundation, then you change the human heart. Once the human heart is changed, we will look out for each other. So that's what I'm trying to say to you. Once you have a church, say, and I use Mona for an example. I just use that, okay? You have Mona who are able to have appropriate benches, they're able to get their songbooks, they're able to have all of those things. But then you may have another group of Christians in the country somewhere that they can't even afford to meet at nights because they don't have lights, or they can't afford to have songbooks, or they can't afford even the communion, basically. The point that I'm making is that justice you have to look at it from the Father's standpoint, because at the end of the day, we all have one Father. And that Father has guaranteed each of us that if we follow him, we will be taken care of. So you can't see that disparity where you have a rich group of Christians and a poor group of Christians. Because if that happens, which will happen, then the rich Christians will take care of the poor Christians. So you wouldn't have a group of Christians going home at night with no food, while a group of Christians are able to feed their dog and able to do all of the stuff. You follow? Because yes. Because God is the one Father. Remember, he says, Haggai, remember Haggai? I don't know if you remember him. Haggai saying, all the gold is mine, all the silver is mine. Okay.
Yes.
And so he said, bring it to the family. And the reason for the money wasn't to have air conditioning and so on, but rather it was so that all of the members' needs are being taken care of.
Yes,
so
what do you think of a Christian today who is willing to help and probably get wealthy in order to help, like many of those churches that are having difficulties?
that is exactly
should try to do that.
That is what God wants to be done. That is why the Apostle Paul was able to go to churches and not take money from them, because he was using his own skill and talent to make their life better.
Yes, sir, but I understood that some preachers don't agree with that idea, because they say that we must not be living our life seeking for goods of this world.
Well, you know, that's the hypocrisy of it. The hypocrisy of it. They're shooting themselves in the foot because they want to be able to send their children to school, and they're not working secularly, and they expect to have a salary, don't they? Where do you think it's coming from?
From the church.
It's the parishioners, it's the members who are supporting him. He's probably driving a car while they're walking to church.
Well, I don't agree with that idea, but still, that's
I mean, how can you agree? How can you agree with something like that? It doesn't make any sense. It's ignorance. As a matter of fact, I've heard preachers who say, was once upon a time saying that sending your children to college is not good. They're going to do da. And as soon as their children get to the age where they go to college, guess where they send their children? To college.
Yes,
you follow?
Sir.
And then they change their views after. They change their view now. You know, now all of a sudden the education is good. You follow? Because their children are now going to college and getting an education. But before that, man, they were beating up the members who were sending their children to college.
Yes.
You know, so that's the hypocrisy. Though. That's the hypocrisy, and that's what Marx. Why Marx and one guy, I forget, not Hegel. I forgot his name. I remember it. Said that God is dead. You know, said God is dead, and it's a very famous statement. And what he was really saying is, in Germany, if you look at the German culture, the way people are behaving, and yet they say that they're Christian, that God must be dead. You can't be treating your brother and sister that way and determine that God. So he concluded God is dead. That's why he said that. Marx said that religion was the opium of the people. It means it drugged them so they've been robbed and cheated by the politicians in the country. So he says that they've been drugged, and therefore we got to get rid of the drug. We got to get rid of the religion, because if it wasn't for the religion, people would be standing up and fighting for justice, and they would not be oppressed, and all these bad things couldn't be happen to them, where they have poor drinking water, have no health care, but yet all the wealth is going to take care of maybe 5% of the people. So all of their labors are going in that direction. And so that's where that theory, tend to fall. But psychologically, from a psychological standpoint, the same thing is happening because people don't have good mental health. You follow? Monies are not being spent there, and so on. So you see the same disparity that is happening. You see it in the churches as well, you know, where you have rich churches and poor churches, and yet they all have one father. It's very difficult to explain.
You know, the same thing goes on, sir. Like, let's say, for example, one of these congregations that are poor, or are they going to take care of the preacher? Why should the preacher not work now in order to take care of himself and his family?
That's exactly.
Preachers should not work. They must only spend their time, studying the word of God to preach. I don't really see that.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, take for example, I've worked secular. I used to preach full time. And then I realized as I was getting older that I needed to, this is not going to take care of me when I get old. So I got out of that, got secular degrees, and then Now I'm able to preach full time and not charge any churches because I have enough money from a secular, work to be able to do all of those things. So for example, what I'm doing right now, you follow? If I had to be at work, I wouldn't have been able to sit here and do this.
Yes, sir.
But and that's what I'm saying to you guys, you got to use your brain. You're going to have a wife, you're going to have children. You got to look out for them. You got to plan for them. You got to do the right things now so that you can be an asset to your family and you can be an asset to the local congregation that you become a part of.
Yes, sir.
And so don't let anybody tell you that doesn't make any sense to me. There are a lot of a lot of old preachers in Jamaica right now who can't preach anymore, but they have nothing to take care of their health care. Very sad, very pitiful, make you want to cry.
Yes, sir.
When you see these men who have given their lives to the church, and now they get to an age where they can no longer climb the pulpit, but nobody cares for them anymore. What happens to these people after they've worked so hard? It's pitiful, very sad.
Sir.
And I'm sure there are people like that in Jamaica, preachers who have worked their whole life and have absolutely nothing, right? It's very sad, very sad. That's why I'm saying the churches have to be able to take responsibility and look out for you. And that's what Marx was simply saying. This can't happen. So, but the time I think is for another class, I would suspect, right?
No, we are going to have chapel now.
Okay, that's what it is. There was a message. What did the message say? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, now I see the message. Okay, thank you guys. Have a great day. And Richard, I haven't really met Richard formally, but it's nice to meet you. Richard, you may want to send me an email introducing yourself, okay? Is that okay?
Yes,
okay,
sir.
all right then. So let's start.
Okay, so all right.
Okay.